with the summary and the motivation parts of the CAP and writing some reviews on that. It should be quite straightforward because it's based on all their proposals. So I think there should not be a big discussion there. I have a question. I'm also working on the proposal part. So should I wait for this first PR to be merged, or can I open another PR with the proposal and design details right now?
We normally prefer working on evolve existing of the CAP, but I know this situation a little bit different. So Dark, because it used to be Red Hat actually driving the user namespace, and how do you prefer to evolve from here?
Yeah, actually, this is kind of a topic. So one of the things that I know internally at Red Hat, we were discussing user namespace support, variations on how we approach this just earlier this week. In particular, I'm trying to make it that you could do something for more specific use cases. I don't know if we had anything we're ready to share externally on what the thoughts on that would have been, but I think what we were starting to think through is like, did the original phased approach on doing node level user namespace remapping, is that necessarily needing to be the first step, or is it possible that we could get better clarity on the actual use cases folks are trying to support to see if we could get more targeted or granular solutions? So maybe in this case, what we could do on the CAP is see if in the broader community we can share what the use cases are, and if there are use cases that are more, let's say, like micro-targeted. So for example, on the Red Hat side, we're very interested in getting like the ability to do unprivileged container builds. And in many of those environments, like you don't need to care about PVC remapping. And it felt like there's opportunities for like smaller, more targeted solutions that one could do without needing to do everything for that type of use case. And so curious if there are others who might just want to be better, might want to more transparently speak about what targeted use case scenarios user namespace remapping is interesting for, or if everyone feels like they wanted the whole thing, I guess, rather than did they think there were more targeted solutions we could do for specific scenarios. I don't know, Renal, if you want to add any more on that.
Yeah, I think that you covered pretty much everything. I think what we can do is Giuseppe and I can work together on the exact use case and how we think we can solve it, and maybe present in a week or two.
Actually, I looked at
like, I'd like to get the use cases better fleshed out. And we have more recent performance data on at least what we've measured with respect to namespace remapping than when we started to explore this 2 years ago. So I think the near next step I'd like to see us do is just like as a community better quantify the near-term use cases we're looking to solve. And I don't think we did a great job on that in the initial CAP.
Okay.
So Mauricio actually share his new CAP about this and how to improve. So maybe we can start from his new CAP, since he already shared and publish. So then we can decide and merge all together. I noticed that there are some small use cases, but I haven't looked at. I didn't read his proposal in detail, so not sure he addressed any problem. Like Mauricio, do you want to?
Yes, that's fine for me. Yes, actually, I was thinking on also opening the PR about the proposal, because what I did was to take the old proposals and more or less combine them together to create something like a new proposal. So yes, my idea was to open that and start the discussion there. So I don't know if we want to go back a bit and discuss the use cases again.
So maybe this is the first time seeing the proposal that's open, so apologies for that. But maybe as a clear next step, like so we have a sufficient body of folks working around it. I see you CC'd Mernal on the proposal. Maybe if we could just get Mernal and Giuseppe to share their insight, that's a clear next step.
Yep, yep, sounds good. I'll make a pass this week and leave comments. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and sorry, just I'm working with Mauricio also. So you'll open a PR on top of this CAP to share your thoughts, or where?
I guess we'll just leave review comments on the existing PR, and I think it may make sense, like if you're updating the CAP, right? Like I wouldn't wait for parts of it to be merged, just add everything to the PR. I see like some sections aren't filled out yet, right? So if you have anything else in the pipeline, I would suggest just update the your PR already for that.
Oh, that's great.
Perfect.
Yes, I was waiting a bit for putting the proposal there, but I can combine everything together if you think this is the best way to go.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, like the quick pass on the CAP is like, to me, and I repeat this, is just like persistent volume management was the hardest part of doing this well. And so there are things I think we could do at the container runtime level without needing, for use cases that didn't need to support persistent volume. And so I guess in general, I'm wondering is like, the author on this CAP, is your use case requiring consumption of PVs?
No, that's something we want to avoid right now because we know this is a hard problem to solve. So actually this is not right on this part of the CAP, but my proposal was to avoid the persistent volumes problem because there is no any easy way to solve that. So the idea was to get some initial support so people can start using this feature, something like to protect the host from pods and not to run the pods using the root in the host, but without trying to solve all the problems together because I saw that in the past there was a lot of work already done on this proposal, but then everything stopped because there were some use cases that were not covered. So my idea would be to try to create an implementation that is simple, but that is still usable. And
okay, so I think then it'd be great for you and Manal and Giuseppe to get together on that, because if you weren't trying to tackle PVs, I know we here at the Red Hat side had some ideas on how we could handle this for specific cases. And if you're looking to do things with like Tecton or anything else that's doing builds on top of Kube as a use case, and you wanted to do it, rootless or something, we felt that there were opportunities without getting everything all done in Kube. So just recommend you guys getting together and seeing if you can find overlap.
Yeah, I can take the action to set something up. I've already synced with Rati in the past, so I'll ping him then.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because also like we have several use cases like security improvements. There are use cases where we don't need PVs, and the security improvements this gives you are way better. So yeah, I think there are several use cases when we don't need to solve the whole big problem. Reducing the scope might be actually very helpful.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
yes,
Thank you.
so for continuing with the discussion, I will push also the proposal and we can discuss the whole thing there.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Looking forward you come back to SIG Node and report what the agreement, and hopefully we can have the presentation here. And let's move to next topic, set card ordering.
Yeah, so me again, sorry.
Thanks.
So yeah, I'm with Joseph Irving. We're finishing the PR with all the callouts and different alternatives and suggestions for all the edge cases we detected. It's written in a quite it's quite long, so we try to err on the side of being long but very clear about what the callout is. Yeah, so I wanted to warn you on that. But once we decide on one alternative, we can basically remove that or move it as a summary in the alternative section that were considered. Yeah, so it shouldn't be such a big problem. Like the proposal part should still be succinct and clear. So if it's okay, I wanted to open the PR maybe in a day or two after finishing some typos and grammar fixes.
Hey Rodrigo, it's Sergey. I'm sorry I dropped the ball a little bit on that. Which PR is currently active for
No.
feedback?
You didn't drop the ball. I still didn't open the PR, but I'm planning to open a PR with all these callouts. It will be quite long because all the callouts are explained in details and what are all the implications that this decisions in the current CAP has. And for every issue that we found, we proposed several alternatives and a suggestion. And what I was trying to say just is that this is quite long, but once we agree on an alternative on how to address it, this can all be removed and just a summary of the discussion be captured in the alternative section and just modify the proposal accordingly to what we decided. So I was, yeah, just trying to say this is long, and if it's okay to you, I think it's better for it to be long but clear. And if it's okay to you, I'll open a PR after I fix some grammar in maybe a day or two.
Yeah, it totally works for me because there are so many scenarios that may be addressed, but we are not trying to address, and it's important to call them out.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, in this PR, we're improving a lot the goals, the non-goals. So what is on scope, what is non-scope, reduce the scope on several things, and several edge cases and how it should work. Also, I wanted to mention that next week I'll be off for maybe 2 or 3 days. So yeah, if I don't answer, I'll be traveling back home because due to coronavirus, I'm stalled in in one country, but I'm not at home. Next week I'll be able to go home. So yeah, next week I might be off for 2 or maybe 3 days.
Rodrigo,
Yes.
hope you have a safe trip back and a pleasure trip
Thank
back
you.
home.
Thank you. I hope so too. But yeah, that's all from my side.
Yeah, thanks for the update. And anyway, we are work from home nowadays, and totally. And also, luckily, we have this open source project. We can work and participate still, no matter where we are. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, James, do we thank you for came to the SIG Node.
Hello. So my name is James. I'm on the Kubernetes 119 release team, working with release notes. 119 is scheduled for release in just under a month, and we're drafting the final release notes now. We're going around and asking every SIG what they feel their major themes are of the release. So I'd be interested to hear what people have to think about that. I can take suggestions now or as a discussion, or we can leave it for later, and I can take stuff in Slack or over email. Anything is fine, really. Don't know if people have any thoughts.
I think the one is testing. We've been spending a lot of time looking at the signal, the failure test. There's a couple projects move forward, but I don't think they are ready to put into the release theme any of those projects. Derek, how do you feel?
Yeah, so I think, James, I'm happy to, if you ping me on Slack, I'm happy to help put together a list of themes. I think stuff that would stand out to me is like where we've made progress on kind of early phase features. So the Secrets v2 work made a lot of progress. There were some enhancements around topology management support that we highlighted in the prior release. So if we wanted to show that work, we could talk through that. But I think what's best, James, if it's okay, I could send you maybe 3 or 4 sentences later this week.
Yeah, that's completely fine. There's no enormous rush here. We've got about a month left, as I say. So just want to get people thinking about it, really.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. But Derek, I kind of second sort of other SIG version too, since we even don't have test here in the I'm not sure, are we going to put that into the themes?
My past experience in helping them put together notes for themes was basically it was not tied to necessarily GA output, right? So in my view, a lot of these themes are both a recruitment mechanism to get people to understand where we were looking and what we were doing, as much as a what we completed mechanism. So I guess that's how I would look at it, I guess. The testability stuff that Victor helped drive, I think, is a good thing to also call out.
I think there's the accelerator, like the disable of accelerator monitoring metrics that could be called out, because that's the one way we definitely want to need the community know. And there's in the chat there are people mention that that's the definitely set comp GA graduation worth to mention. Yes, yeah. So we definitely have some like the graduation, we definitely need to mention. I'm just concerned about the new feature. If we don't have enough tests, we even don't have tests on the community, then we call out. So that's my concern. Because we've been discussed this for Windows a long time back, right? So we said that if there's no public test, we cannot really sponsor or support. Even we help SIG Windows to put a test there, but if there's no test, and it's hard for us to justify those things. So anyway, I just share my thoughts here. Thanks, the Cesar, about to volunteer to write something up about the SecComp GA.
Oh yeah, sure. I can work on it if you want.
So that's all for today's agenda. And any other topic people want to board up?
Yeah, I had one topic, if it's okay, Don. One of the things that I've been meaning to raise, but I haven't had a good forum, and it's on my mind now, we have time, is Lori Apple had been reaching out, talking about if we wanted to start running maybe a dedicated triage meeting to help get priority focus on kind of unblocking of PRQs. Given that, like, we just elevated David and Seth to maintainer roles, it felt like we were kind of backfilling holes that we had, where maybe we could more effectively start to run some of these triage meetings with like with some coverage of ensuring that there wasn't an approver in any form we were holding.
Yes.
So what I was curious about throwing out here is like, if we were to put something like that together, at what cadence would we think it would be helpful? And if any of the members of this SIG have maybe joined other SIGs triage meetings to see what's valuable that we could go and look at role modeling before kicking it off ourselves if people felt it was a good thing to do. So maybe I'll put Seth and David on the spot if they're here on if that's something that they would be supportive of helping out with.
Mm-hmm.
So before it's Sergey speaking. I was thinking about that, Derek, and I'm running this query right now. It's in a meeting notes. So I'm trying to understand how many PRs are currently in SIG Node area. And it's surprisingly that most of the PRs is just a cleanup. So I think cleanup and bugs are two the most prominent areas. Unfortunately, I cannot share my screen because I'm speaking from a phone, but if you can click on this link, it may be useful.
I can give you the host so you can share. It's okay. Just 1 second. Okay, I need to find you.
So unfortunately, it's from my phone, and I wouldn't be able to share my screen because it's a weird setup I have. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Did you share the link here? And
yeah, on a document. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
Mm. Okay.
And yeah, and I did this. I did a spreadsheet of burn down of pull requests. I mean, I started tracking it manually before, but then I started writing them down. And I wanted to understand what blocking us, and that's why I sent this pull request to clean up owners file and add David and Seth to more owners files. So I think Don approved this pull request. And I also noticed that some pull requests are not blocked by us. It's blocked by hack team owners for cleanup especially. So I sent this pull request. So if you can vouch for this pull request as well, it will be helpful. I added it into notes. So if you scroll all the way to the right, Don, there is a burn down. So this pull request, like it's a pull request count total and a little bit down.
Okay.
So there is total number of pull requests and breakdown by if you breakdown by kinds. Yeah, I just
Sorry.
That, yeah.
And I don't know.
Keep it on the screen, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, you notice that kind bug and kind cleanup is kind of the biggest area. And the worst part is that kind cleanup is so big because typically kind cleanup doesn't require any feature knowledge or any, I mean, it's supposedly just a refactoring or some code improvements like linter issues improvements, something like that. So unfortunately, those PRs got stuck quite often. So we have one from like, I think more than a year and a half ago that was approved by everybody except hack team. And then it was stale and rotten because more changes was accumulated in the master branch. And now it's abandoned. It's still open, but it's abandoned. So I suggest this another pull request to change hack files permissions. So every approver has a permission to approve those kind of pull requests. So it's kind of some ideas how to improve, how to burn down some of this pull requests, but obviously there are more. And Derek, I saw you comment on one of the pull requests where there was a cleanup of some refactoring of node status class. And I totally support this comment saying like some cleanups are meant to be just a refactoring for the sake of refactoring without clear justification why we need those cleanups. And those cleanups may take a while to review when they don't bring any obvious values. So perhaps for that kind of PRs that we reject, we can explicitly reject them and close them so they won't hang active. If you can like just close them with appropriate messaging, maybe it will be okay for people, and we can suggest to break it down into smaller PRs and more manageable pieces that can be reviewed quite easily, and they wouldn't cause any regression in the future.
Yeah. So I guess if it's okay, I very much appreciate you sharing these stats so handedly. I think this would be helpful data for us to review and prioritize. What I was trying to think through is, and I wanted to go sample some other teams' triage meetings or other SIG's triage meetings, was like, I wanted to make sure that we were having constant focus on cherry picks, given that they're largely probably impacting actual users in production and that we didn't get them lost. Between kind bug and maybe kind documentation or something, we could probably prune these in some priority order, but this would be a nice banding way to try to make the triaging meetings itself effective. So yeah, the goal would be to figure out what the right status quo here is. I don't know if the number is ever going to go down below, say, 150 or something, because many PRs span functional areas, but I felt like we could do better than we have been now, and given some new energy, maybe this is a good time to see if folks wanted to help out. And so maybe as a next step, like I thought about sending out like a doodle to the SIG mailing list to see if there was a desired time and cadence. But I wanted to make sure that we had coverage from someone who actually had approver rights in that meeting to make sure it was productive. And so wanted to particularly understand what, say, David or Tim's or Seth's or Dawn's calendars would afford. And maybe we can catch up on that after Slack, after the meeting.
That's good.
Yeah. I think the triage meeting is really, it's very. So I also agree with the Derek's priority. I think the top one, it is the cherry pick. That's approved. It is the product issue, and everyone already provide the abundant review, and then we need to make sure the release the version have those cherry pick. And another thing, it is, I think that I also agree with you, like the kind of bug and kind of documentation, but also I want to add one more, the fitting test. And especially for those conform related fitting tests, I think is deserve some like the higher priority attention from the triage meeting maybe. And unless we all agree, separate the meeting, continue like that. Other thing, I think like the design and also feature actually literally came to the SIG Node, and or maybe offline design meeting we've been called out, like recently have like the resource management related design meeting. So that's kind of be take care. So, but Sergey also mentioned is one thing like the clean up. And I guess that is kind of like the based on the priority is a little bit fall into crack. So we can continue through the discussing like the Slack how we are going to pick up those clean up things, because some of those clean up may help us maintain our code readability and maintainability. So we definitely don't want to always deprioritize. I have to admit, I personally also deprioritize some of those things, and I'm guilty here. But what's the way we have to figure out what's the best way to do this? We can continue to discuss this one.
Yeah, and to be clear, my goal with kind cleanup and kind bug is not to prioritize them very high and pay more attention on that. It's just to streamline the process with them and make sure we are not spending time on them. So I think taking those like this volume out of everybody's time and concentrating approvals time on feature work might be very beneficial. So that was my biggest intention. But yeah, and also newcomers, like new contributors to Kubernetes, have some hard time understanding how it works. So we can walk them through the process ourselves.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Victor. I wanted to just add one thought. You know, when we were doing in the past some of the cleanup for the SIG testing stuff, one of the constant challenges was you know, all the emails coming in about, hey, review this PR, and it was easy to lose track of that stuff. And so what I did is looked around, and actually GitHub has a project management tool. I'll just call it that because that's sort of what it is. It's a board. And with that, you can track all of the issues. And so what I did is created a GitHub board, and I was only tracking the SIG test stuff. But for example, like the spreadsheet here, I mean, you can sort this thing based on the kind, whether it's a cleanup or test or feature. I mean, I've got the board up. If you just want to take a quick look, or folks are familiar with it, that's fine. If you don't want to be bothered with that. But what I'm saying is there's the tool that at least helped me sort of get things pushed through from the SIG testing cleanup. And, you know, that has been sort of put on hold for now for a couple of reasons. But I think that would be a great tool to consider to use for the triage and to prioritize, because once it gets to a certain point, you say, hey, these PRs they're all done, all the tests are passing, and we're waiting for a reviewer. So you can have a column that says, I just need somebody with approval rights to go and say, okay, make sure everything's good, click, and it makes it easier, especially for, you know, I imagine, Don, you and Derek just get pinged all the time, hey, approve my PR, and he's like, what is it? This is a little tool that helps organize that, and I think it's good. I like it, and if I was in that, going to do something like that, I would certainly look toward this tool because it's built in, it's easy, and it's not a steep learning curve. So yeah.
Cool.
I'll put the link in just in case you want to take a look.
Definitely. Please.
Yep, in the chat, it's there's the current board there. If you just want to, I mean, you can pull it up and you can see it's really cool.
Cool.
One thing I've seen some other SIGs do, Derek, particularly API machinery and instrumentation, is you can have newly opened PRs add a triage label to them, which can help with sort of tracking which ones have been looked at and which ones haven't. So that might be something we want to do.
Yeah, maybe you could reach out to Daniel. I'll reach out to David or Stefan and see how they're handling that. But in general, I thought like with more rights being offered to more people within the SIG, it was a good time to try to fix some gaps that we had. So let me. It sounds like there's interest in this, and so it's worth pursuing. Maybe as an action item, just the list of current approvers will sync up to see what the right cadence is, and then we'll try to get a doodle sent out to the mailing list with some proposed times that match that cadence to figure out if we can get broader participation.
Cool.
Yeah, and happy to participate. And I have one question, just very tactical. Do we need to cherry pick OVNIR's files to earlier releases as well? So you'll have approvers that like were added recently also being approvers for older branches.
So I would find that definitely useful. Yeah, I would ask Seth and David, can you make sure you're in cherry pick versions of currently supported releases, and we'll prioritize getting those approved.
Yep.
And then David and Seth, I'm also curious, we had a gap in the testing repos, which Victor was hitting. It felt to me that if you were a kubelet approver, you should be an approver in those
for the tests.
So I know I had synced it before you all became approvers. I'll have to see if we need to ensure we don't have a gap on that.
Okay, we should probably use the SIG Node approvers alias instead of individuals then.
Yeah.
For those
yeah,
tests and for things.
Yep.
I could have sworn someone opened that PR already. I'll try to
I think
find it.
Sergey opened one to change some places. I don't think it touched anything in test infra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, test infra was weird because I mean, I don't know history, but there were like Derek was there, Don wasn't there, so I wasn't sure what the status of it and whether it was intended for all kubelet owners to own it.
I don't think there'd be any objection to every existing SIG node approver in that alias to be in those lists. It's the right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for. It's so rare we have some time not discussing very complicated topics to bring up some of the mundane, but I think this is important. So that's the only layer.
Derek, as a follow-up, I also want, last week you are not here, so we talk about continue of the resource management discussing because it's gone from the, so there's the topic proposed, and also there's the more people want to continue discussing about the topology management and also continue of like improve of the memory as the resource and the NUMA a while scheduling. And there's also have the people send me, there's also have the open PR talking about the disk IO. I think disk IO we've been talking about a long time back, but we don't have any concrete result come out. And there also have like the new proposal came from the Michael Cosby, the NRI interface. And I share the Michael about some old discussing meeting notes and also the resource class, which is touch base a little bit that topic, but not really we agree. So as a follow up, maybe we should have how we are going to move forward. Should we have like continue another round of the resource management discussing? But I hope that this time the time a little bit friendly to the West Coast. So I don't know. So I just
yeah. So I guess, like I said, I was out. I know it's sometimes hard in open source projects to realize.
I
that
know. So
out.
that's why Monday.
I think I know Victor, who was doing such a nice job helping coordinate that, had also had some situations. So I'd like to just be able to have time to watch last week's recording and see the latest stuff on the node resource interface. But then I don't object to continuing it, but just let me follow up to see if we have capacity to do it well, and if not, then others should take it on. Maybe Victor, you and I can sync up afterwards to see what capacity is that as well.
Yep, absolutely, sure.
Okay. My initial thought, maybe someone can give me some background and save me an hour of watching if there was a long discussion. For the node resource interface, my understanding of that is it's a bit like treating the problem like a CNI type problem where it was opaque. And my macro concern on this was that there are some that want total visibility of scheduling and decisions that are made at the cluster level all the way down to a node local level. So when some folks from, say, SIG scheduling are asking for topology aware scheduling, it's basically a strong desire for users who need those needs to have cluster level visibility. That something like the CRI would not make, or sorry, the NRI would not make knowable. And so it just felt like there's this consistent tension in Cube where it's like, it's sometimes hard to get a one size fits all solution to all pass. But am I mistaken that like the whole idea around the NRI was that the alignment choices made were actually opaque for the cluster itself?
Yeah, yes, and I think Don brought that up
in terms of making cluster aware scheduling and the whole concept of like the scheduler assigning a pod to a node and then that node going, nope, I can't run it because of opaque reasons. And the scheduler going, okay, does anybody have non-opaque reasons they can't run the pod? Okay. All right, well,
So,
I'll watch that, but that was the
I just want to
we have these two divergent requirements.
Yeah. So yes, that's all the concern we had in the past, and but also there's the demanding people want to address this problem. So I think about the signal that maybe it's good forum to discuss that one, but sometimes maybe they want more attention, like the Numa or Wild stuff. I think when you was gone, or maybe you are there, and people still want that one. So I said, okay, in that case, maybe we need to discuss. I totally understand your capacity, how much we can handle. I have that problem too right now. Not even mention like the open source project, even internal, I also have that problem. Beat me badly. And
independent,
but
actually what we can manage as a community, I guess. And so we have divergent interests often coming forward, and I just want to make sure that I understood that was a gap.
That's a valid thing that with the NRI there's divergent requirements, but just because that there's lower config doesn't mean we can't expose the config upwards through CRI. For example, today with CNI, we do provide all the gross details of how CNI is configured for your pod if you request it.
Cool. All right. Well, Micah, I appreciate that feedback. All I had seen was a 10-slide deck, so I was actually really looking forward to watching the recording.
Yeah, it's very rough. It's new, right? A lot of work left to be done.
So, I would say it's like a just discussion opener because there are a lot of things to be discussed and decide how to do it in the best way.
Yeah. So Derek and I is going to discuss tomorrow, and because just like Derek and I both also, we don't know I think just not just two of us I think it's just SIG Node. Also, it's the SIG Node as the community, and there's the balance, right? So both of us desperately want to help. Everyone can move forward, and we are not the blocker for the new idea and the feature, all those kind of things. But on the other hand, we also kind of want to not to allow certain feature go out of balance and destabilize our quality and destabilize because a lot of feature maybe have the particularly vendors interest. So we try to be balanced here. So we try to do our best, but sometimes we may not see all the things. So we have a meeting tomorrow, and we are looking forward and discuss this in detail. And just like the Derek just mentioned that, like the bug triage and the PR triage meeting, that's really we just want to do our best to move faster. But on the other hand, we also have concern like the SIG Node as the community, because if you notice that the majority feature will come to the SIG Node and talk, and a lot of feature used to be like we talk about the scheduler need to do work, but then basically scheduler still push back, say, oh, like the SIG Node to handle. It is easy to put on the node and bypass all those controller, all those kind of things, but actually there's also have the risk and the damage to the overall community for overall project. So we please give us share your opinion and brainstorming, and we also do our best to help here. Yeah. So we will tomorrow, and we heard there's the demand to continue on some resource management, but the resource management is huge topic, and so give both of us a little bit of time, and we figure out a best plan. And I mean, not not perfect plan, but we will do our best. Yeah.
Thanks, Ton. Okay, cool. I guess just one of the topics on today, we'll get something sent out to the mailing list on triage times, and thanks for everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Don, I added last item in there. Just a quick FYI. So last week we talked that there are multiple streams of interest to continue the SIG Node test CI subproject or group effort, right? So I worked with Victor and Joy and a few others in the community, and we scheduled an initial meeting this Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. PST time. So if anybody in the community is interested, please let me know. I can add them to the meeting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for Lance here. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's also on the Slack, and Alex also share something about the CI change, and I will put it into our SIG Node meeting notes, and so people can easy to access that one and to take a look. The new policy improve of the Kubernetes CI. So I will put it there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.